Smitty backpedaling. Frank, go ahead and call in real quick, Frank, and let me know how I'm backpedaling. What in the hell do you think I'm even backpedaling on? What am I talking about right now that you could even constitute as backpedaling? The phone line's open, Frank. Frank's always in there. Frank's always in the chat. No offense, Frank. You call in, you're a real nice guy. But in the chat or in the comments, you oftentimes have this constant negativity.
I don't know what
you could even be talking about, backpedaling. Phone line's open.
I don't know any backpedaling you've done.
Backpedaling. Oh, here's Frank. Frank, what am I backtracking on?
Oh, as soon as Fields was rumored to go to the Steelers. Now you're like, oh, now he's capable of running an offense. 2 weeks ago, he was a bum.
2 weeks ago, Fields was a bum to me?
No, what? 2 weeks ago, Arthur Smith was a bum. Now today, you're saying he can run an offense.
Where did you hear any positivity about Arthur Smith in my show, Frankie? Frankie.
Let me show you. I got you figured out, okay?
Okay, tell me, Frankie.
Ever since I started watching this show, you always hate on the Steelers, all right? You know why? Because you're a big-time Kurt Warner fan, and he got smashed in the Super Bowl by you-know-who, okay?
That's been haunting me, Frank. All Kurt Warner's winnings have been haunting me.
And you're a huge Cardinals fan, and that's why you hate on the Pittsburgh Steelers, bro. Because we whooped you.
Okay, so let me get this straight. First of all, you're completely hold on. You're completely wrong.
Have you ever said one good thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Oh yeah, I didn't have Pickens.
Constantly come over 500.
Pickens on my Moon Man list.
Harris, he's going late. Pickens is going to have 1,200 rushing yards this year, minimum.
Hey, Frank, calm down for a second. Listen. Let me educate you on this, okay? Najee Harris, no expert in the entire. Frankie, listen and listen for a second. Get the earwax out of the ear.
Yeah,
I'm trying to tell you.
That's why you hate the Steelers.
I'm trying to tell you. No, you keep saying things that aren't true. And everyone in here knows you're wrong, number one.
You said the other night you're a huge Kurt Warner fan.
Yes, I am, Frank.
So
that doesn't have any.
Kurt Warner fan and not hate the Steelers?
Because I'm an objective person, Frank. Because I'm an objective person, Frank. Not one thing has to mean the other. What are you talking about? Can I tell you something, Frank? I don't even think about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not even on my mind. The fact that you think I have a hatred for them, it really entertains me, number one. Number two, the Steelers have nothing to do with Kurt Warner. The Steelers have nothing to do with Kurt Warner, bro.
You said last year we weren't going to come in 500.
Hey, Frankie, listen. Let me educate you on the show real quick, Frank. Calm down a second. Calm down. Frank, listen. All right, Ron, keep the laughing to a minimum, or mute yourself real quick because I can't hear over your laughing. Frank, not one industry expert in the industry had Najee Harris ranked higher than I when he was a rookie. I told everyone, you could ask the chat. Chat, let them know. I told everyone to draft him as high as number 10 overall. So you're absolutely out of bounds on this one to an extreme degree. George Pickens was on the Moon Man list last year. Frank, I talk about Steeler players all the time. Just because I don't like Tomlin, just because I don't like Arthur Smith, and you're completely out of pocket on this whole me saying I love Fields and Arthur Smith. Everybody in the show right now is laughing at you, Frank, because the entirety of the show, I said I won't draft Fields with Arthur Smith as the OC. That was what I led with on the show, Frank. That's why I said I don't like Arthur Smith with Fields, and I won't draft Fields as my starter in 2024 because of it. So what are you talking about? Me backpedaling? I'm not backpedaling nothing.
On Pittsburgh.
Now you're backpedaling. Now you're backpedaling because you said that I love Fields with Arthur Smith. You said I love Fields with Arthur Smith. Why did you say that, Frank? Now you're backpedaling.
Last year.
You're backpedaling. You're backpedaling. I don't backpedal nothing. I pedal forward.
Harris last year.
Who cares about last year? Who cares? I'm telling you, I love Najee Harris as a rookie. You backpedal every time I give you a piece of evidence that I don't crap on the Steelers at every turn. You go to some other corner of the content and say, well, you said this or you said this.
Yeah, just like Christian Watson was going to be a
Oh, okay.
Right?
Oh, we're gonna pull out bust now. Oh, so because I busted on Christian Watson, that takes away Breece Hall, takes away Jahmyr Gibbs, takes away all the good stuff, huh, Frank? What's Watson have anything to do with your backpedal conversation right here? What's Watson have anything to do with your backpedaling conversation?
What's your problem with the Steelers?
That's a definition of backpedaling. Is now it's turning to this.
What's your problem with the Steelers?
I don't have a problem with the Steelers. What are you talking about?
You don't like Fields now because he's going to Pittsburgh.
You said I did. You said I loved him.
You said it. You said I loved him. Quarterback, but I think he'd be capable of running an offense.
Did you watch the show, Frank? Frank, did you even watch the intro? I said that Fields is going to be better in Pittsburgh than he was in Chicago because he's that good. And I do think Arthur Smith is handcuffed.
Okay.
Listen, Frank.
And who's going to be?
Listen, Frank.
Calling the plays?
Frank, listen, Frank. You ready?
Arthur Smith's going to be running the offense.
Listen, Frank. He's going to be better in Chicago better in Pittsburgh than he was in Chicago. Does that sound like hate? No, it doesn't, does it? And I don't like him.
He's going to be better in Kurt Warner, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, because Kurt Warner wasn't just one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Frank, you just put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah,
bro.
Big Ben.
How's the shoe taste, Frank? You got to talk about Kurt Warner. Talk about fandom. Talk about goggles this thick. You're going to try and come on and talk bad about Kurt Warner? Are you kidding me? One of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game ever, and you're going to come in and say better than Kurt Warner?
Kurt Warner?
Yeah, Frank. Yeah, Frank. Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner ain't shit. Big Ben. That's the quarterback.
Okay, that's it. That's it. You got to talk about Kurt. You can talk about me however you want, but you don't.
Until he was 40.
Finish him.
He didn't win a ring till he was 40.
Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner's so bad. Oh my God, that guy's unhinged.
Been holding that one for.
He's just unhinged. That's the way. Look, he called in the other day. He was the nicest guy in the world on the phone. I'm like, is this Frankie from the comments? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, you're the most like. You're the most like aggressive and I don't know, just worst commenter on the channel that I have. Probably
Don't forget.
There it is. That's Frank.
Don't forget, he also used to be Frankie Knuckles. Remember Frankie Knuckles?
That's his name on here. I have him as Frankie Knuckles in the phone line.
And he's Frank Fusco, but he used to have a name called Frankie Knuckles.
Yeah.
That he would.
Oh, so Frank must have got kicked off the channel and he rejoined as Frank Fusco instead of Frankie Knuckles. Yeah. I gotcha. Keep it up, Frank. Keep it up. We'll see how long you last. I mean, Frank, you're off your rocker. Everybody in the chat is just laughing their tail off. You got a Steeler fan on the phone, Ron, who can't stop laughing because like you don't even know what you're saying.
Just the entertainment of that was you gotta let Frankie call in every now and then, dude. Don't ban him. Yeah. His entertainment is off the chart.
I don't know.
He was 28 when he won the Super Bowl. I think 28 or 29. He said he was 40.
Frankie crapped the bet on that call though. Like I mean, let's just admit it. Like he didn't even have a point. Every time first he started off with Smitty. Now you like Fields. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So then when we shut that down and we let him know, actually, Frank, everybody in the whole audience here knows that I started off the show going, is he better in Pittsburgh, even with Arthur Smith, than in Chicago? The answer to that is yes. He's better in Pittsburgh. But is it somebody I draft in fantasy? No. I'd rather draft Joe Burrow. I'd rather draft AR5. Give me those quarterbacks around 6'7" than to go down the road of Fields. But look, Fields is better in Pittsburgh than he is in Chicago. Chicago, Getsy did not know what he was doing with them. And I don't think Shane Waldron knows what he's doing anyway, regardless. So he ain't going to do it. I don't know. All right, boys, I'm out of here. Perps, what?
Smitty, that was because he said the same thing I said to you way back in the day.
Frankie, you're live again, but you're on a very short leash.
Yeah, you got a lot of tough guys in your chat over here.
Yeah? Well, that's because you're out there just screaming and yelling.
I'm calling in, dude. I'm standing up for my team.
But you don't even need to, Frank.
I don't like Kurt Warner.
Okay, good. He doesn't like you.
Kurt Warner, in my opinion.
Kurt Warner probably. Actually, Kurt Warner probably buy you dinner.
You don't like certain players.
But Frankie, you're losing control though, Frankie. You say you got a lot of tough guys in the chat. You're losing control. You don't have grip on reality. Like when you get angry and you flip a gasket, Frankie.
I got grip on reality.
You don't though, Frankie, because
take it personal with my team, dude.
I know, Frank, but you literally called in saying I was in favor of your team when you first called in. You said now you love Fields. And then
I didn't see the beginning of the show.
No crap.
So what? You're not high on Fields. You're not drafting him.
I'm not.
This year, you're saying?
I'm saying. I don't think
I'm going to be calling.
I think you need to.
When he's throwing bombs.
I think you need to rewatch the show because I don't think you understand my take at all. And you came in here screaming and yelling. You blew a gasket, Frank, when you didn't even know what was going on. That's the definition of you don't have things under control. You literally blew a gasket on here, and you didn't even know what my stance was.
Every night, dude, all I hear is Ron getting attacked about Pittsburgh, dude. I'm sick of it.
What do you mean? Ron's in here attacking Pittsburgh himself. Ron wants Tomlin gone.
Well, Ron's got a problem, an issue, because he's pissed off about the Steelers. I get it, but he's still a Steelers fan.
So I admit I'm not a Steelers fan, Frankie.
I think Arthur Smith's going to fix that offense.
Okay.
Gotcha. I don't give a shit.
Duly noted.
Sorry.
Duly noted.
I don't care about the fantasy. Okay.
Well, you're calling into a fantasy football show, Frankie. The name of my show. Look behind my head. Look behind my head. The fantasy football show, Frankie. Where are you at?
You got to be a good team before you produce fantasy points. You got to be good.
I started the show off saying that Fields gets an upgrade going from Chicago to Pittsburgh. But because of the presence of that man, Arthur Smith, I don't think his upside's near of what it could be if he went to Atlanta, went to Washington, went to another location where you had an offensive coordinator that could construct and architect an amazing passing attack around Justin Fields. Is the team better off, Frankie? Absolutely. I started off the show saying that. I said this team could go another round in the playoffs. They made the playoffs with no quarterback. Imagine if you get a quarterback, even with Arthur Smith handcuffing Fields, you maybe even go another round. That's what I said, Frankie, but you didn't watch the show. You came in off the rails, started screaming and yelling at me, and going absolutely nuts. Perps has been quiet the whole time. I don't know if you pissed Perps off.
He's gonna have
Frankie,
a good season,
Frankie,
dude.
Hold on. Perps, go ahead.
But we need to go line.
You don't even, Frank, calm down. And you don't even have him yet. You don't even have him yet.
Frank, so if I'm understanding correct, you were excited about the Arthur Smith hire for offensive coordinator.
No, I'm just glad they didn't hire some towel boy from within again.
I'm glad I calmed Frank down. I'm glad we got Frank calmed down. And if I said anything bad about the Steelers, Frank, I'm not sorry. They can kick rocks.
Finish him. Call terminated.
Frankie Knuckles busted out of his chains. You bet.
Frankie's going to be so pissed tomorrow. Real quick, the last thing. This goes out to Frankie. I also want to say a big thank you to Kurt Warner for being one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. And that every team, including the Steelers, would drool over the idea of going back in time and getting Kurt Warner to quarterback their team. Kurt Warner is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Kurt Warner will forever live on this show as a GOAT one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, Kurt Warner was, and we're giving Kurt Warner a standing ovation. Kurt Warner to the moon. Kurt Warner to the moon. Everybody in the chat, chant Kurt Warner's name. I want Kurt Warner, nothing but Kurt Warner for 4 minutes. Kurt Warner, Kurt's our man, Kurt Warner probably would buy you a dinner if he saw you sitting there eating all angry, Frank. He'd probably be like, buy that man's meal over there. Kurt Warner to the moon.
Leave it on the fields.
Just in time.
Fields of dreams.
Feels like making love.
Outstanding in his fields.
Feels so good.
Fields General. My field's good. Uneven playing fields.
Battlefields tested.
Fields. He's for real.